All right, what is going on here with another interview? This time, guys, we're going to be talking about how to be financially healthy. I have my man, Mr. Armani, Mr. 100K. Mr. Armani, I'm super excited to have you on this, this air. I've been watching you and following you for a while, been seeing you do tons of things for the community. I love to just know some things about you. Tell me some things about just yourself. Like, who is Armani?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say thank you for having me, just bringing me on today, and pretty much just letting me talk to your platform. Yeah, first and foremost, thank you. But
Absolutely.
when I think of myself, and when I think of Armani, I just really just think of myself as a minority growing up on the west side of Chicago, with a
Mhm.
dream. And then the first thing I want to say is when I think of myself, I just think of myself as, someone who stirred away from, the norms, growing up, in the West Side in poverty, not having no father or nothing like that. Um,
Wow.
I really didn't, um, I really didn't allow myself to just go with what everyone said. And I think that's kind of one of the biggest things and unique things about me.
Yeah.
Instead of like, going to, I'm actually still in college. I'm currently a student at UIC. I'm on my second year.
Congratulations.
I'm going for my bachelor's in entrepreneurship. So of course a business degree. But at first growing up, I really didn't believe in going the school route until I understood the importance of knowledge and information and how it relates to your social status, your income, and when it really just comes to being successful in life. And when you think of me, what I do now on social media, back in 2020 or back in 2021, I started my company called Next Level Mentor. And Next Level
Wow.
Mentor is essentially who I am, but
Yeah.
it's a company that does for the people that look just like me.
Wow.
Next Level Mentor is the person that I'm, trying to evolve to become. And the way I do that is, for one, Next Level Mentor was created by a minority for the minorities to help educate them and help them reach their goals or whatever their dreams are through entrepreneurship and financial literacy.
That's
Thus is the reason why I started my company. So within my company, we provide, a numerous amount of resources from mentorships, digital products, and we just educate people through our platform. And we do mostly pretty much coaching and mentorships, but we also sell digital products as well to help, educate the youth and minority that look like me and just come from the same background.
wow. Wow. You said a whole lot, man. How old are you?
I'm 23.
23. You have your own company, mentoring hundreds of people. Came from you lived on the west side of Chicago. Grew up with no father, and like talk about the adversity. How did you get from growing up on the west side of Chicago, no father, really? Maybe you came from no money as well. How did you get from where you were to where you are now at 23?
Um, I really want to say that I always had this competitive nature to me. Um, so this might be a little personal, but I don't mind sharing.
Yeah.
So growing up, I didn't have a father. I met my father back in about roughly 2014 to 2015.
Mm.
Um, at some point, I think when I was 11 years old, I was also taken by DCFS and I moved in with my grandmother. So I was like 11 years old, 12 years old, roughly, about seventh, eighth grade. Um, and then it just got to the point where, now I'm with my grandmother. She doesn't make, a sufficient amount of income. She gets Social Security income. Um, and the way the world works and the way social media is right now, like even in like grammar school and high school, I would always hear the kids like have all the flashy, nice clothes, designer, nice
Yeah.
haircuts, and the way the world works. Sometimes people are just so cruel. But my competitive nature and spirit always told myself like I can't be always be the one with the hand me downs. I can't always be the one with the just always just being less fortunate. And I'm not one of those people. Ever since I was a kid, I don't dwell in my misery or I don't dwell in my situations.
Yeah.
And just having that competitive nature and spirit, it always just like pushed me to, want more out of life. So my first story I would say is it all started off at Taco Bell. I was about 14 years old, and I lied to get my first job at the age of 14. Now, the way that it works was this was a Taco Bell in Rosemont. near the airport.
Mhm.
And they was just getting built up from construction. So all they needed from us was a social security card and some form of ID. Luckily, since they didn't have no system yet, they were manually putting in people's information. I
Right.
lied and said I was 16 years old, and I gave them my high school ID.
Yeah.
I gave them a fake birthday. So
Mhm.
I told them I was born, I think, 02/10/98 or 02, yeah, 02/10/98. And they believed it and they put it in the system, and I just started working. And I just used to grind. And then there was also older kids in there. They were like, I was probably like, yeah, 14, 15, and they were like 18, and they were managers already.
Yeah.
And I always was in my head like, okay, well, what I got to do to achieve that? What I got to do to get that?
Right.
And I would see how much work it would be, and I would just literally put in the work. One, because I had that competitive nature and spirit, but two, because I always felt like it was always embedded in me that I can get whatever I want out of life if I did the
Yeah.
work, if I showed up.
Absolutely.
And if this person can, why not me?
Right.
I think that's my biggest thing. If there's any takeaways that I would leave anyone with, is ask yourself, why not you? You know, I'm tired of just looking at the internet. I'm tired of looking at social media. I'm tired of looking at other people's success stories,
Yeah.
um, and just always comparing them. I'll
Right.
just ask myself, hey, why not you? Why you can't get that? Or what
Right.
do you got to do to get that?
Right.
Just having that mentality, and just that mindset ever since a young kid, it's like I really reached that milestone. So kind of just to speed things up and kind of get to the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
Roughly at 19 years old, I became a team leader at Target. This was my first time in corporate America,
Mhm.
and I ran the whole entire guest service department.
Wow.
It got to that point. Um, I was at 19. I was making about $23 an hour.
Mhm.
This was back in 2019. And then it kind of just got to the point where I ended up getting laid off. And this is
Mhm.
when roughly 2020. This is when the pandemic hits.
Yep.
So when
COVID.
so once COVID pandemic hits, I'm not working no more. And I had a friend that I grew up with. She was, a real big inspiration to me. She always told me like, man, you go so hard for other people's companies. Why don't you, start your own? Um,
Mm.
so one thing about me, I always been very resilient, very smart. During the pandemic, there was a big surge of pushing entrepreneurship and people wanting to start businesses.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, social media, the internet, once again, kind of pushing that, oh, you're replaceable. You see these jobs that cut you off, they'll lay you off. COVID,
Facts.
they let so many people go. So many people, there was a high demand for people who wanted to start businesses.
Right.
When I got into business startup, I had created with the help of a friend, and also some research that I did. I
Mhm.
created my own LLC, my EIN. I got me a business bank account, a DUNS number. And
Mm.
then I got into business startup. Everybody's like, "Hey, Armani, how did you do that? Like, how did you start your own business?" And I
Yeah.
did the research, and then I started helping other people with it. I started off with a clothing brand. It was called Elite Apparel. It didn't last long. I did like maybe one drop, but that doesn't necessarily was my calling at the moment. When
Gotcha.
you get into business and entrepreneurship, you're gonna, you can change routes a couple times until you actually, find your niche
On
and
niche. Yep.
yeah, and actually, see what you want. So with that happening, um, now that I'm older,
Hmm.
well, of course, it's been about 3 years that I've been in entrepreneurship now, but now that I'm older, I realized that without even knowing, there was a demand for something, and I
Yeah.
provided a solution for that demand. People wanted to start businesses. So
Yeah.
I eventually came up with this package called the Business Startup Package. It was like, it started off at like 450. I'll do your LLC, your EIN, your certificate of good standing,
Mm.
a corporation if you wanted to, and I'll do your free little logo on Canva.
Yeah.
Then of course I started learning graphic design, but that was my little business starter package. It was 450.
Wow.
Demand just continuously to increase and increase and increase. Then I'm like, okay, this needs to be $1,000.
Yeah.
Um, then I started creating websites, and now I have websites, logos, legal paperwork, for your business, all for $1,000. I look down. In August, I make my first $10,000 in a month.
Wow. Congratulations, man.
Appreciate it. This was in August of 2020. So I
Mhm.
was like, wow, like I could really be successful with this. Like I can see myself doing this continuously and getting somewhere.
Yeah.
And then from there, um, I started doing it. I made a package for it. It was starting to sell out. It was doing real good. Now I kind of want to. This is where I'm going to transition into like the credit part of everything. So now COVID hits, everyone's getting this like PPP money, stimulus, all this, everybody's just really just highly invested in just like, doing something for themselves and starting their type of businesses. Now,
Right.
2020, let's fast forward to 2021. In the year 2021, about, I want to say at least 60% of the businesses that I helped start failed or they quit. Number
Mm,
one, a lot of people didn't have the funding necessarily to get there, and that's
correct.
where credit comes. And then number two, a lot of people lack the motivation necessary and the consistency to actually get themselves somewhere. A lot of people want an instant gratification, especially with
That's
social media,
true.
and everything that you see in the world. People want that. They want that money to come quick. And I
Correct.
was getting money quick. Don't get me wrong, but I had the strong foundation of my own credit to be able to sustain and continue to continue to strive and continue to get whatever resources I need.
And that's what I want to talk about, Armani. I want to talk about, did you come from a background of financial literacy? Who
Yeah,
taught you financial literacy? Like the parents, or you just taught yourself?
I taught myself.
And let me ask you this: what was the urge to teach yourself? Like, what made you really dive into financial literacy? Because if you think about it, just think about the about 20 friends that that you maybe see going out. Like majority of them have messed up credit. They just don't care or just not educated. So what pushed you in that arena? You could have chosen. You could have chosen to be a mechanic. Could have chose to be a pilot. What pushed you to be in the financial literacy field?
I think the reason why I got into the financial literacy field is because my company and what I'm all about and what I really stand for
Mm-hmm.
is help closing that wealth gap and that lack of resources, information,
There you
and
go.
just people being able to achieve their own results and their own dreams because
Right.
of financial literacy. I think that's one of the biggest things that most of our people lack. It's lack of information
Information.
when you get
That
down to like the bottom of it, the real
right.
substance of everything. People lack information, and that's
That's
one key essential piece of information that I feel like if we all had it, if we all had this resource, if we all had the discipline, if we all knew what a credit score was, if we all knew what
right.
a credit report was, what credit cards can do, how we can leverage it, interest rates,
Mhm.
cashback benefits, if we really knew what that could do for us or how
Yeah.
it could help position us or help us get further in life,
Right.
and so many of us wouldn't quit. So many of us wouldn't stop on our dreams. So many businesses fail that I helped start and I contributed to. They all stopped because they didn't have no money or they didn't have no strong personal credit foundation to continue to chase after their dreams. Mind you, these were people that were minorities, number one, and then number two, they were real ambitious. Like they were quick to send a little $1,000 or 450, whatever I charged for that package.
Right.
So quick to send me the money and get started. But then
Yeah.
when they lost resources or they didn't have enough resources from the stimulus and PPP money, like they couldn't keep have credit cards. They didn't have lines of credit. They didn't have business credit. They didn't have no type of funding to keep going. And
Right.
that's where they lost the motivation. And then what I saw was, damn, you know, only reason I'm able to continue to go is because
Mhm.
I have that. Um, and I
Mhm.
continue to educate myself. Once I realized that I see so many people fail at something and I
Yeah.
didn't because of it, I was like, I gotta educate myself on this. I gotta help people on this. I gotta really fill in that gap. To put people in a position to continue to, be where they want to be. You don't have to be a lawyer if you don't want to. If you want to start your
Right.
own business and you want to build houses, hey, go do that. But a lot of people like our parents and they kind of mess us up. I'm not gonna lie. Probably about 3 out of 10 clients that I work with that I get now for credit repair, their parents messed them up. They got bills in their name, all type of stuff. Um,
Exactly.
and it really hurts us. And then it really hurts that you lack the information and the the resources necessary to get to where you want to be, but also too your parents didn't even care enough to teach you. Then on top of that, they put stuff in your name while you're a minority or a minor, excuse me, while you're a minor, and that kind of just sets you back already too to come into this real world.
That's a fact. So tell me, what has credit done for you? What is it like? How has it changed your world? Mindset, lifestyle. Like, what is credit? How have you been able to use credit in just your life currently?
Currently, the way I use credit, I use it for everything. Everything's bought off credit. This book stand, this plant, this this little ring light, whatever the case may be. It's all off of credit. This is actually off of business credit. I got it from Amazon. It's a business line of credit that they have. It's called Pay by Invoice. I got a $13,000 line of credit with them, and I just furnished my whole condo that I stay in downtown. But I mean, that's what I use everything for credit. Like, one thing that I do want to say about credit is very useful, and credit is good for, how do I say it? I don't use credit for a flashy lifestyle. I use credit as leverage. And that's another thing that I want people to pay attention and really take away is credit is not used to live above your means. Credit is used to take that money from other people, right? From these banks, these creditors, these lenders, use other people's money and to be in life.
Exactly.
That's what I do.
Exactly. Right? That's good. Armand, I want you to pause right there. You said something that's really good, because a lot of times people get these huge credit lines and they're like, okay, I got 25,000, but there needs to be a mindset shift. Like, no, you don't, you can either have 25,000 or you can leverage 25,000. It's a complete difference. Leveraging and having 25,000 is completely different, because when you say I have 25,000, that's telling me that, oh, okay, well, I'm about to go buy new PS5s and shoes. But when you say you leverage, now you can go invest and bring in some passive income.
For sure.
So that's good. Go ahead.
Yep. So that's really the way I use credit. I look at credit as leverage. And the way that I mostly use my credit, well, now I have business credit. So now I use my personal credit for, other different things. But even with business credit, I use it to just scale my business, whether it's for payroll, whether it's for marketing, whether it's creating new products, reinvesting into my team, creating incentives, doing trips. It's really the leverage that my business needs. Like, I really don't have to worry about anything specifically. Like, for example, last year I had an office. All my entire team had MacBooks. All my entire teams had like the best software to perform and do the best job possible. And even you can use credit to leverage. I had a couple clients that I helped start Airbnbs. I have clients that I helped get into the Turo business. I have clients that bought ATMs off Amazon business lines of credits, and they're doing good in the ATM business. I have people that use their credit to start their LLC, get their website, get them some inventory, to start off boutiques, clothing brands. What else do these people start? They start all type of businesses off of credit, money that they don't have to necessarily use out of their own pocket, because that's what's going on. I'm going to keep my cash and I'm going to go invest my cash. I'm going to use my credit for everything else. I like to keep my cash flow. I'm going to invest it. And that's another thing. I want people to be, really, really take in. Financial literacy isn't just credit. And I think that's a big one. A lot of times people need to understand that, best practices is understanding debt management, having saving solutions put up, having some type of investment vehicle, whether it's a mutual fund or some type of retirement, whether it's a Roth IRA. Even with savings, people don't even know about high yield savings accounts. That's what I use for my money. For example, if I got $100,000 liquid, I'm going to go put it on a high yield savings accounts, and it gets about 3 to 4% of interest. And, real quick disclaimer, I'm not here to give anyone any financial advice, but just pretty much just to educate and to tell you back from my, personal, experience, and just from my background, look into these vehicles, whether it's a mutual fund for investing, a Roth IRA for a retirement plan, whether it's a high yield savings account to put up your money, having yourself an emergency fund worth of 6 months worth of your, basic living expenses. Those are all just like 4 gems that I would say, like, you really want to, get successful. You really want to, get on your game and build a strong foundation. Understand where you are at in your current financial situation and ask yourself, where do you need to be? I think that's key to financial literacy, understanding where you are at now and where you're trying to go. Because a lot of people don't do financial planning. And that's a big one, a kind of topic that I want to kind of get into. A lot of people don't understand what's their basic living expenses, what liabilities do they have to pay every single month. They don't understand, like, so many people, like, it's crazy, because this is so sad, but it's so crazy, like, jaw dropping at the same time, that people don't understand what's coming in and out of their account. Like they don't even see their money, but that's because they're just so unaware and they really don't sit down and plan their finances. And if you really just sat down and told myself, all right, cool, I have this many assets. This is how much income, income streams I have.
Right.
How many expenses I have, right? Whether it's, car note, rent, insurance,
Right.
house insurance, life insurance, whatever case may be. And then, I have all these, like, once you sit down and write everything out, you can really get to where you need to be to become financially healthy.
Exactly, absolutely. And the thing is, it's basic principles. A lot of people don't write out their finances because, okay, I have this. Just think about it. Think about how much money people are losing to subscriptions.
For sure.
Subscriptions just coming out their account, hundreds of dollars of subscription, and they just let it go. Think about how much money people are spending on fast food a week, a month. They're losing so much income when they can be cooking that food, using the money that they're losing to go invest or put in their savings account. You said something really big, having 6 months to 9 months of living expenses, because when all else fails and your money runs out, what do you have to fall back on? Especially if you have bad credit. Like, credit is supposed to be there to leverage, but a lot of people don't leverage it because they don't know how to build a great credit profile as well. So I want to talk to you about that as well. What does a good credit profile look like?
A good credit profile to me works its way from the top down. So in terms of personal information, you should real simple. You should have, your first name, your middle initial or your middle name, your last name. You should have one employer, one address, maybe one sub address where you receive mail, and then one employer. Now, I'm gonna start off and I'm gonna address why the personal information section of a credit report, why is essential. So many times I run into clients that are trying to get credit repair or trying to get funding. They'll have like 10 different addresses. They'll have like 4 different employers.
Right.
They'll have their name spelled 10 different ways. And number one, when your name's spelled 10 different ways, you're going to have a hard time trying to identify who you are as a consumer. That's number one.
Right.
That looks risky to lenders. Having so many different employers and addresses. Do you have a stable home? Do you have a stable income?
Facts.
What it looks like in a lender's perspective.
Right.
And the way that our minorities are just so undereducated and they really don't understand how that looks. Like, that's the whole point of being the next level mentor and educating them, because it's just little small stuff like that can take a couple minutes, whether you go on the credit bureau's website and you do, because you can dispute all that stuff online by yourself, or you can send in a letter. It's just little stuff like that people need to pay attention to that will save them so much time and money. People don't even know. Having a structured credit profile and having all that set up, how I said, it can literally help you get 10 times better credit limits and lower your interest rates. Because number one, you look more dependable, and you look more reliable. And then credibility is even better. I don't want to approve somebody for a $10,000 credit card that live Georgia, Chicago, 3 different addresses. They keep skipping from job to job to job. They have 5 different names. Your name says Keisha right here, but on the other one it says Kishana Hawkins. Like, who are you? Where do you work? Do you have a stable income? And do you have a stable home?
Yeah, facts. That shows instability.
Yes.
It shows me, like, if Keisha ever ran out of money, I have to go to 10 different places to go get it. So that's good. Tell me this: is there hope for people with bad credit? Because a lot of people are, they consider bankruptcy. Chapter 7s. They're like, man, my credit's so messed up. I got foreclosures. I got, repossessions. I got late payments. Like, can you talk about that? Like, is there really hope for people with bad credit? Like, as credit professionals, can we really help them?
For sure. Now, I'm not going to even talk about the credit professional aspect. I'm going to talk about just in general, right? In general, there's consumer laws and consumer rights.
Correct.
Also, it's called something called the statute of limitations. So no matter how bad you mess up, you basically get a reset every 7 to 10 years, because there's statutes of limitations on things, whether it was a repo, whether it was a collection, whether it was a bankruptcy, whether it was a foreclosure, eviction, child support, student loans. No matter what it is, it doesn't stay on your credit report forever. That's number one, right? You have statutes of limitations on credit reporting. and that's under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the Fair and Accurate Transaction Act. There's so many different consumer laws and rights that people have that essentially helps us be redeemable. That's number one. Now, when you talk about the credit, just being a credit professional, just being, an expert in that field,
Right.
there's also rights that people have under the Fair Credit Reporting Act that they're able to, dispute anything that they believe is inaccurate, obsolete, or, wrong.
Right.
For example, and that's where, credit specialist comes in. They look at your credit report. They could try various different strategies to get it off. You got factual dispute methods. You got regular, just inaccurate information.
Right.
They can have your name spelled wrong, and that's even disputable because, hey, how can you prove that's me if that's my name's wrong?
Exactly.
There's so many different ways to go around things and get things done. So with credit, even whether it's just knowing your basic rights, understanding the statutes of limitations on reporting, or working with a credit specialist, credit is definitely redeemable.
Absolutely. And now let me ask you this: CPNs versus credit.
Mhm.
A lot of people are, like, man, I don't got time to be wasting 3 to 6 months. I don't got time to be making monthly fees. Like, let me just go get a CPN. What's your thoughts on CPNs versus credit? Honestly.
CPNs aren't. So first, I'm gonna break down. CPN is a credit privacy number, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people who use credit privacy numbers, high elected, public officials or people in, high superior power that you can't really get their social for. So
Right.
of course they use CPNs are in use. Now, they are not best practice when it comes to trying to obtain things in credit. And the reason why I say that is because you can technically get in trouble for creating a separate identity and creating this credit privacy number and trying to obtain goods or services with it. Because I want to be very careful how I word it. CPNs is something that's a short-term solution.
Short term, yep.
It's a short-term solution. It's not something that I feel like is going to be sustainable if you don't change the habits and practices within yourself.
There you go.
That's number one. So it's like, hey, you want to go get the CPN route, but the person who messed your credit up is you. So you're going to go do the same thing if you don't change who you are and how you go about things.
Yeah.
So that's number one and two.
So they can't hide.
Yeah, they can't hide. And then number three, it's a real dangerous game when it comes to CPNs. Am I fully against them? No, but am I fully for them? No, either. I would say
it's a love and hate relationship.
It's a love-hate relationship, but in all actuality, if I had to tell somebody my professional opinion,
Yeah,
fix your credit and
absolutely.
just get more disciplined and just get a little bit more educated. Just become a little bit more knowledgeable.
I got 2 more questions because I know you have to go. I want to thank you for your time, man. My next question is: how long does it typically take for someone to obtain great credit, starting at like a 455? Maybe they got a couple like 5 late payments. They got a repossession. Typically, how long does that generally take? Are we looking at 1 month? Like, can I give you my credit profile, start the process, and then hit you up in 30 days and say, is my credit fixed? Can I do that? Why not?
So this might be a little bit different from how you do things, but the way that I do it, right? When it comes to asking me, and I don't really give people exact times. And the reason why I say that, I might give them a ballpark. I might say 3 to 6 months ballpark. And the reason why I like to say ballpark, because it's like things vary. There's a numerous amount of strategy, methods, and education that comes to fixing credit.
Yeah.
You can't even dispute 5 late payments or repo and 2 collections in 1 letter or in 1 round. So that's first and foremost. Number 2, credit bureaus have stall tactics.
Facts.
Number 3, sometimes things need about 4 or 5 rounds, sometimes 6 rounds before you actually get a response.
Exactly.
Late payments, whether people tell this or not, late payments are not 100% always have 100% solution. It's a hit or miss. You can email the CEO, you can send a goodwill letter to the company,
right?
And it really all depends on you, what you said in your letter, have you been proactive and have you been paying on time after that late payment? How
Right.
long ago is that late payment?
Right.
Um, how has your relationship been with that, that bank or that lender since that late payment? It's a various amount of things that go into it. And
Mhm.
it's a real dangerous game. I feel like as a credit, professional and just understanding that whole thing, it is redeemable. It is a process. It is a journey. Be happy that you got started on the journey,
Yeah.
that you work with somebody seasoned and educated that's going
Right.
to also put you into the right direction. Because my biggest issue with credit repair specialists that I see on social media is, yeah, they can probably get some negative things removed, but they don't really call you out and tell you like, hey, this is how you be proactive, this is how you
Ooh,
build better habits, and this is how you rebuild.
that's
Repairing is
good.
only one part of the process. Rebuilding
Right.
is the second half of the process.
Yeah.
And my last thing that I would say was, people have to understand, consumers specifically that try to get credit repair, they have to understand that this is when you pay somebody for credit repair, you're also saying and taking the initiative of saying, hey, I'm going to be responsible now. I'm going to make better decisions and choices, and I'm going to be committed to this process no matter how long it takes, but I'm still here for the long run. I think now with so much instant gratification and people just ready to pay the money, but they're not ready to change, those will never sustain and they'll continue to go back to zero. So
Wow. So before I get to my last question, so sometimes it's not even about the credit. It's really about the behavior.
for
You
sure.
know what I'm saying? The behavior, because if you can't change the behavior, we can fix your credit, but if you don't change the behavior, you'll be back in the same place as you once were.
Mm.
So that's good. So because a lot of people are like, hey, Armani, can you fix my credit? Or Torian, can you fix my credit? But if let's fix your behavior first. Let's change these bad habits. And if we change these bad habits, then the credit will automatically come naturally through the process. Because as you're going through the credit process of 1 to 6 months or 7 months or 8 months, you need to be working on your behavior the same 8 months. But most people don't work on their behavior those 8 months. They just work on the credit. They're like, Armand, I want you to fix my credit. I'm gonna go do what I want to do. And then once the credit is fixed and they ain't changed, then all of a sudden they get late payments. They're back to the same old person. So that's really good. You have to change you specifically. Once you change you, everything else will fall in line. My last question is, how did you obtain, or like, because I was looking at your last now, or not your last name, but just the 100K. Like, what prompted you to put 100K at the end of your name?
Um, so it was a personal milestone for myself.
Okay.
Um, I made $100,000 cash.
Uh huh.
So my first year of entrepreneurship in 2020, I made 110,000. That's where, so
You said you made what? You made what?
I made $110,000 in 2020 at the age of 20.
Wow.
I was 20 years old. I made 110,000. My my name at first was Armani 10K. That was in August of 2020. But
Uh-huh.
when the year ended and it summed up, I was like, dang, I made 100,000. So that's where Armani 100K came in. And then after that, 2020, I started educating myself on business credit, and I
Mhm.
ended up getting $100,000 in personal credit and in business credit in 2021. Then in
Wow.
2021, I went on and made $300,000 in income. So Armani 100K really just came from that personal milestone of myself of I can only go forward and I can only grow. And the name 100K just really stick with me. Like, wow, you made 100K in income, and then you also have 100K in personal credit and business credit. Like, you lit now.
Yeah.
And that's just like that's just the starting point. Like, that's just where we're starting at. I still got a lot to do. 3 years in entrepreneurship game, I'm still fresh, I'm still
Right.
new. And I'm gonna just continue to grow. So that's where it really came from. It was giving myself a mental note and a milestone that I can see on my platform. Like, yeah, you reached that. Armani 100K, that's you. Mr. 100K, that's you.
There
And
you
now
go.
I want to help people get there.
Right. Well, man, I just want to say thank you for all the value that you're giving. I know my audience is super excited about all the information that you dropped. I mean, you talked about various things that I feel like can really help people. You talked about the behaviors, what a credit profile looks like. You gave them a lot of education. But you also let them know one of the things that I learned coming, you didn't make an excuse in the very beginning of where you came from, growing up on the west side of Chicago, not living out here, but actually learning from a couple people that the west side of Chicago ain't no joke. It's pretty rough. but the fact that you didn't let your circumstances and your environment stop you from becoming the man that you are. You're in school, you're working out, you have your own business, next level mentor, and you're obtaining your degree. Those are all huge. That just shows that you're still hungry. And a lot of people, their hunger is not where it needs to be. So I'm excited about just the value that you've been giving. I just want to say thank you for coming on this platform, teaching people and educating. And is there anything else that you want to tell the audience before we end the webinar or end the call?
My biggest thing that I would leave everyone is, number one, why not you? Always ask yourself, hey, when you're comparing yourself and you're on social media and you're just scrolling and you're just looking at people's success stories, their milestones, their lifestyle, their happiness, whatever it is, whatever marriage, whatever you idolize, ask yourself, why not you? And then really internalize and ask yourself, okay, where am I at and how do I get there? That's number two. And then number three, stop chasing money. A lot of people chase money, right? And that's where I think a lot of people mess up. Money is just a byproduct of who you are as a person. You become a better person, you become more skilled, you start to sharpen, what's already up in you. The money
Right.
will come and it will flow naturally.
That's good.
So continue to just be a better person. Ask yourself, why not you? See where you are and ask yourself, all right, how do I get there? And just continue to show up for your single self every single day. That's all I got to say.
Let's go. Let's get it, man. Well, you guys have heard it. It's been a wonderful interview. You guys have heard on Millennium Kingdom Solutions. We'll be back on Saturday. Hopefully, I can get Armani to come back to do a workshop with you guys. I'll be super excited about that. And you guys have a great Monday. Enjoy your time. Armani, I want you to stick around because I have a couple things